Welcome to Reality After Show, coverage of The Challenge, Season 40. Tonight we are talking Episode 3. I'm your host, Dan Montchal, joined, as always, Alex Trias, Paulie Calafiore. Alex, Paulie, where are we at with Episode 40? It's the first after the Invitational, and I think we're off to a good start, minus our beloved man in the middle not being there.
Don't remind me.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It happens to the best of us. I'm going to have to zin up for this episode.
Gotta get this.
I think several people on this episode could have zinned up to have a better outcome.
Yeah, I think a couple people could have zinned up. This was an interesting episode. And as much as I would love to be there as a host of the podcast, it's kind of good that I'm not there because now I could just really give what I'm watching and there's no it's always interesting when you're there filming and then you do a podcast because it's like we all know what goes on and then what's edited, right? So it's like, you know, you can talk about things, you can give a little bit of insight as to being there, but like you always run into the tricky situation. Oh, we lost Alex.
Yeah, Alex.
You always run into the fuck it, we're doing it live. You always run into the tricky situation of if you say something, you know, cast members being like, well, you were there and you know it wasn't this way, so fuck you. But watching it pure vision, I just get to give like exactly what the episode gives me.
Honestly, not the best for you. Could be the best for the podcast. I feel like we're going to have a lot more hot takes coming from Paul.
Hey, listen, there'll be more seasons for me. You know, there'll be other podcasts that we get to do, you know, with hopefully championship seasons on the belt here that we won't know until the end. But the viewer, Paulie, taking all this in, it was a lot. Where do you want to start?
I mean, we'll start up at the top at the beginning. And I get that we have everything that's going on with, you know, everyone's back in the house. You see, you know, Cara hugging Theo and everyone's trying to make nice. I personally love it's why, if you look at Darrell and Aviv, it's that conversation because it's my favorite. And it's my favorite because for a long time I've been saying, you know, fuck them kids, don't mention them. And the two of them just came out and that's exactly what we got. We have Darrell right off the bat saying, I'm not doing this for my family. I'm doing this because I want to be an all-time great. That's my reason for being here. I want to be in the same conversation with the Bananas, the CT, the Jordans of the world. And it's followed up immediately from Aviv being like, fuck them kids. I came back for me. This is why I'm here. For me, not for my family.
Dude, it's about time people said fuck them kids. Like you're choosing to go on the challenge. You know what I mean? Like you're not thinking about your kids when you make the choice to go on the challenge. If you're thinking about your kids, you get a fucking stable job. You know, you're a law-abiding citizen. You're not putting yourself out there for the world to critique. You know what I mean? Where you might be hooking up with somebody on TV. You know, you might be in a weird outfit. Tits might be out. I appreciate Aviv and Darrell for saying fuck them kids. Like
truly.
Everything. Yeah.
No, truly. She said, fuck them kids, and I want new titties. Like, Aviv's a different woman here, and I'm for it.
She's like, I want to get them reunion boobs out. Fuck them kids. I'm not here for them. I'm here for me.
We're 3 episodes in, and I don't think anyone's stock in my mind has risen higher for who I'm rooting for than Aviv. Now, there's other people that, you know, that have stayed up top that sure there, but from just someone, I don't know what to expect. Aviv's back. That's a cool story. But so far, 3 episodes in, absolutely loving that she's there. What a home run by casting.
Oh my God. Great confessionals. Looks great coming back after all these years. Didn't age a bit. And it, you know, like it is really kind of giving us everything that we would want from, you know, I know she's era 2, but she feels like era 1. If that makes sense.
Sure. Especially being so far removed, only did fresh meat. Like, she's gone so long. 18 years, she says, like, a whole kid later, it's like, yeah, she's era 1. She's era 1.
Yeah, like a whole grown-ass kid later. It's not like she's coming here with, like, little children. I think that's why she's at the point of, like, fuck them kids. because I feel like everybody else is like, oh yeah, like, you know, I still have like my little children, like they're still fresh, you know, like maybe 4 or 5 years old. Like she's got some grown ass kids, and so does Darrell, and that's why they're both kind of like, no. I've had enough years of this shit. I'm done.
No, and it's so encouraging hearing that from Darrell though this year, because like ever since he's been back, it's been about his kids. It's been about getting the camper, which cool, go off. But it's never been about like, I want to reestablish that my wins in the past weren't just the era that I was in. Like I am a top tier competitor. I am someone who should be considered in the GOAT conversation, the Mount Rushmores. And I've been let go because of the Bananas, the CTs, the Jordans. It's like, no, I'm motherfucking here too. Let me pound my chest a little bit and show you.
And it's why I give Darrell credit over someone like a Landon, you know, not going back to when we're talking Mount Rushmores and stuff like that again. But it's where if Darrell had stopped coming back prior to his break for coming back to Invasion. So the last time we see him is really after he punches out Brad, or I guess it's Fresh Meat too, but it's right around that time.
Yeah.
It's his 4 wins in a row are recent enough. I feel like he would still be in that GOAT conversation more, I think, spoken about more positively, but it's the fact that he has kept coming back that, all right, we've just seen what he is, where you look at someone like Landon and you just think, what if? And Darrell has just happened to show us that what if, but it doesn't take away from what he accomplished his first 4 seasons on the show.
Yeah, and it begs the question of, right, because the main critique about Darrell is, what have you shown me lately? Right. And it's like he had that illustrious 4 wins, and he did them in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not like in seasons, but his first 4 appearances, he won.
First 4 appearances all got wins.
Yeah, first 4 appearances, got the wins, and then he takes a break, and then he hasn't seen a win since. He's made finals. You know, he's had ups and downs with the eliminations. His name has kind of been tarnished a bit, where I feel as though, although Bananas went such a streak without a win, because he was just always there and always kind of making it to the end, you know, with the exception of War of the Worlds 1 and War of the Worlds 2. Right. You're welcome. And then he gets that 7th win, right? Like he's still kind of showing what he's got. CT gets most of his wins later in his career. Jordan is Jordan, unreal individual. And it makes you wonder, like, if Landon maybe even came back sooner, would he have been the same Landon?
Right, and that's something that we would never know. And it's like all these people that you're naming, it's like, I'm going to cross some sports here, but it's like Bananas gets away with it because he's like the Tom Brady. He was there forever. He goes to all the finals. He wins like half of them. So he gets that. Jordan's your Michael Jordan, for lack of a better term. Gets to the final, put all the money on him. He's winning. CT, he's like your Tim Duncan. Like consistency, once he matured, wins late in their career and wins a lot. Like,
it's hard to pinpoint where Landon would fall. But it seems like Darrell's finally like, all right, you know, it's been enough. I hear what everybody's saying. I'm washed up. You know, what have you shown me lately? And I'm here, you know, but he's doing it in his own like funny way.
Yeah.
You know, like he's still being Darrell. He's not kind of making any waves. Like I think that a lot of these OGs don't give themselves enough credit coming back, where they're coming back almost in a way always where it's like, I don't want to make any waves, but it's like they don't like the new people. You know what I mean? Like in the conversations that I have with them, at least, they're just like, man, you know, fuck this Vacation Alliance, fuck these new people, fuck this. But they're smart enough to stay under the radar, and I guess that's like CT's influence in a way in the later years of like seeing his success. But you know, I think that there's something to be said about people who have seen so many eliminations and have played the game so many times. You do have an advantage, and if you came in and you were like at people's necks and at people's throats, especially some of these new players, it's going to put them on their back foot. You know, like it may not work with like a Jordan,
right?
You know, or you know, even Devin's kind of he's immune to shit talk. Like shit talk doesn't rile Devin up. But someone like Josh, shit talk will rile him up. Nobody's really put Kyland in that position to like talk shit to him to see what it would be like to do whatever. Like even like I'll put it to you this way. There's a difference between getting voted in consistently and people still being nice to you, like what we've seen with Kyland, and like people being voted in and the shit talk is there and everything. I mean, I saw it on Final Reckoning with Natalie. She's a good performer when everybody's on her side. When everybody's sitting there against us and the stands, you show up to the elimination and you're getting booed during the whole elimination. Everybody's like, fuck you. She would lose her mind and it would frustrate the hell out of me. But I feel like a lot of the new people haven't been tested in that way. And I think a lot of the OGs can still be a little bit of their old selves, but they just don't want to be. Once again, maybe because it's the kids, maybe it's because of whatever, business owners, what have you. But I think they could definitely bring back a little of the old school initiation, if you will, to the show.
It sort of felt with this episode, that's what it was gearing up to. And we'll obviously get to it after the daily, because that's where really all the bread and butter is the decision making there of who to go in, who not to go in, and who people were preferring to see go in. But
ahead of getting to the daily, you mentioned people losing their minds. Horacio's right there. It seems like he's so checked out when we go to him right as the episode starts because Nerys is gone.
Dude, he was checked out before then. It was such a weird thing to see because obviously when it goes to competition mode, he's switched in, he's locked on, wins the first daily. But Horacio, like day to day, was like walking around the house like, I don't want to be here, I want to quit. Now, granted, he had just filmed for 6 months on his other show, and then showing up to Vietnam where it's like 100 degrees and 100% humidity. Probably not the best environment to just come off of a 6-month show, but he was already checked out. Like it almost seemed as if like Nerys was his lifeline in terms of like keeping him like, come on, babe, stay locked in, stay locked in, stay locked in. So I wasn't surprised to see him like checked out without her there, because she was almost like the Sylvia to Joss in the final reckoning. Like Joss was like getting checked out at certain points of the final, and Sylvia was like, no, we got to stay locked in.
Very interesting, because it does put some pieces together, because I know for a long time Nerys was like all about like, I'm not going on 40, I need a mental health break, I'm doing all this. She's waiting for Horacio to come back from 6 months. And I almost feel like, was there a fear in Horacio just saying no to the call? Like if I say no, I'm saying no to competition. If competition's essentially his bread and butter, like that's what he's there to do. Says yes, but probably regrets it. Nerys says yes to be an anchor for him, not even necessarily to fully compete on the season, but be there to support Horacio as they go together.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been hearing different podcasts that they've done where they've spoken on this, and I'm pretty sure it was Horacio saying yes, right? Because that's like the competitor in him. Nerys didn't want to go. Horacio was like, go for me. But you would have never thought that that was the case once we were there. You would have thought that it was the other way around, that Nerys got the call. Horacio got the call. He didn't want to do it. And she was like, come here for me. So to find out that it was actually the opposite, I was a little shocked because he was like really checked out. And then with Nerys getting last place on the first daily, like it almost like there was a point in time before the first elimination where I walked in the bedroom and I saw his suitcases packed. And I was like, the fuck is going on here? And he was like, I'm checked out, bro. I don't want to fucking be here. And I was like, do you want to go into the elimination?
No, but really though, it's like, if you want to go home, the best way to do is go in elimination. And he could even do the whole thing of like, I'll go in elimination, I'll go balls out in it. But if I go home, it is what it is. I'm at least allowing everyone who wants to be here to compete.
Yeah, and I think this kind of ties into this episode. And we could touch on some other people later. But my whole thing about the challenge is this. It's like, no matter how you're feeling at home, no matter how you're feeling before you go, the second you pick up the phone and the second you say yes, that's it. Your chance of backing out is literally before we arrive there. But once you're there, you're locked in, you're checked in. I don't like when people are checked out, or, you know, even people who go there under the premise, you know, like the Veronicas of like, oh, it's just a paycheck for vacation. No, it's not. It's a competition reality show. Like, I get it. We're characters, but we're also there to compete for money. And it, back in the day, what the show stood for, like, that's almost a slap in the face to anybody there. And, you know, coming on any season where there's so many people that become alternates, and there's so many people who maybe get the call and then are told, hey, we're not going with you this season for whatever reason. It is an insult and it is a slap in the face, you know, to people there and to people, you know, who aren't there. So that's just my stance on it. You know, and I was a little shocked. I was shocked to see it from Horacio, right? Because he is, to his core, an animal.
Right.
And when he locks into competition, he locks into competition no matter what. And I think that that's just in his blood. But it was a little disheartening to see, you know, this guy who refers to himself as the Wolf, you know, in that mindset, because like, this is supposed to be a guy of the mentality of like, you know, Jordan.
Right.
He's someone that over the past 2 flagship seasons has gotten more love than anyone else. I get coming off of 39, Nerys was a ton of it, but you go back to Ride or Dies, and it was Horacio was really the big story because he went into 4 or 5 eliminations, won them all. Unfortunately, they have that incident in the final with Olivia where they end up getting pulled. Then he comes back, his back's against the wall almost all 39. And of course, across the fan base, his stock is way up. But this is an episode that's just showing me of why I've always had hesitations with him. Not because he's not a great dude. He seems like such an awesome dude. Happy for him and Nerys. But he doesn't have the MTV reality shtick to him or the personality for it. Like, you can't every time you get voted in just say, I take it as a compliment, you know, honorable. Is we need to see some fight back to him. And we just haven't seen that. And on top of it, we're going to get him starting to check out a little bit. It just really, it makes me question about maybe this wasn't the right casting choice for 3 seasons in a row.
Well, I mean, there's 8 people who just went home. You know what I mean? Amanda would have loved to be there still, cause chaos. Leroy would have loved to be there still. Mark would have loved to be there still. Katie would have loved to be there still. Brandon, I don't know.
Breakfast Beers.
Yeah.
Breakfast Beers.
Kellyanne would have loved to be there still.
Mhm.
You know, I would have loved to be there still. I mean, and even like when you watch an elimination where somebody, you know, suffers like 2 concussions, right? It is almost like a slap in the face, right?
Mhm.
It's a slap in the face where it's like, you know, even if I would have come back from that elimination and been concussed, right, I would have still pretended like I wasn't concussed in order to be there still, right? And, you know, I remember stories that, you know, Cara told me regarding Bloodlines with Jamie, where there were times where he was kind of sick, and she was like, nope, don't say you're sick. Don't go to the hospital. Don't do any of these things because they may send you home and then we're done. You know,
Right.
like that's kind of the caliber of mentality that I expect out of everybody there. And I think we've gotten a little lost from that. And we definitely, you know, the conspiracies are flying about this episode. And now this would be 2 seasons in a row that this same individual showing up for appearance check and then finding a reason to get out of there as fast as possible. Like that to me is insulting.
Right. I agree. It's just as a competitor, we've all competed in something growing up, and like obviously for you up for the collegiate level into reality TV. It's like I'm on a show. I get it. We're supposed to entertain. We're supposed to do all that. But it's like in the end of the day, if I say yes to do something, I'm putting my like full 110% into this. Like I'm going as hard as I can. Even if you're like checked out, I'm like I'm still going to compete. I'm still going to do everything I can. But it'll be like if I happen to lose, it's not the end of the world because I wasn't like fully in. But I'm still going to compete my heart out until I'm told by TJ that you're going home.
Right. 100%. 100%.
That is what it is.
Yeah. And before we get to the daily, I know going back to All Stars 4, we joked about it and we didn't get much coverage on it, but we said, we're waiting for Brad to have that midlife crisis part 2 with another woman. And we get the preview of it. Him and Emily, the girl who lives in a van, sounds like a perfect match.
I mean, I'd like to take credit for the walking out of the bathroom shot because that actually happened while I was still in the house. So funny story about that. I forget who I was talking to. I think it was me, Cara, and Michelle, and we were talking game about potential situations for the elimination, and the power in the house goes out completely. So obviously, the more seasoned challengers are like, power's out, which means cameras are off, which means microphones are off, which means if we don't want something to end up on TV that we might not want people seeing, we're going to try and have our chance. And like clockwork, I didn't even know that Brad and Emily were a thing. I didn't even know that they were getting close to each other. Lights go out within 5 seconds. Like they're walking into the basement, walking into the back bathroom, and I'm like, oh, they're about to fuck back there. And the camera crew's like nowhere to be seen. And I'm just like sitting there. And then all of a sudden the power comes back up. For like credit to Brad, stamina, because everything was out for at least 30 minutes. Okay. And they're still in there. Everything comes back on. I'm like, man, I really hope that people with cameras and microphones come down to the basement real quick and see who's fucking in the bathroom and like come right down, see it. Apparently Emily was upset that she was caught, and I'm just like, you're coming on a reality show and fucking. But let's call it what it is here. But yeah, we have the caveman and the van woman.
Yeah.
Get at it. I didn't even know Emily had it like that. Like I don't know the Emily of the past, but the girl who came in like lighting Palo Santo, like having flowers in her hair, meditating every morning, like so peaceful, so like zen in every way. And then like the second the power goes off, turns into a nymphomaniac sex fiend and like is yanking Brad into the bathroom. I was like, who is this? Who is this girl? I was just crying with this girl outside about my godmother who passed away earlier this morning. And now she's freaking taking this guy in there. And yeah, I mean, they definitely were in for a surprise when the door opened, but I'm happy for him.
You know what? Credit to Brad. I've been on the podcast for years now saying this dude needs to shave that beard, trim it, do whatever. Hey, it got him what he needed to get, and that was his second midlife crisis. So, Brad, 2 claps for you. 2 claps.
Dude, Brad pulls some chicks.
Oh, he does.
He's got a freaking roster on him.
His roster, if you were just thinking of guys from the challenge and roster, Brad would be an underrated person for that because it's a lot better than what you'd think.
It is a lot better than what you think. Like when I first met Brad, he was eyes wide open Brad, which I guess he always has been, but like beard and everything. But he's pulling some bad chicks.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think he's not missing out on having all of his exes on a season. I don't think it would end up the same way as how Jordan gets to play with his exes.
Yeah, I mean, out of any of the Brad exes, I mean, Emily's definitely the strongest. So he definitely set himself up nicely there, but not as nicely as little Miss Naya here.
Oh, yeah. And who's also having, you know what? Good for Naya. Naya's in. She's in the candy store. She's trying everything.
It's been a while since we've seen a good politicking season, and Naya is on the quest to bring that back. And I have nothing but respect for that.
Naya's probably one of my favorite people that I met on the show because she's so real. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's so authentically real. I just vibed with her like out of the gate, and to see her kind of like hone in like an Amazonian warrior princess, praying mantis, just spinning webs around these two guys. Poor Josh. Nice guy always finishes last in this scenario because oh man, he's definitely the friend that always like, wants to hook up with the best friend, and then, she's the one that always cries to him about when the mysterious one fucks her over.
Yeah.
Not a flashback to Georgia.
I mean, that is cold. It's cold as hell that she literally made out with Josh, told people to vote in Kyland and Casey, and then fucked Kyland in the bed right across from Josh.
Look, it was the last night. He was gonna go home. God set him out right,
in the bed across, like do it somewhere else, like in the bed across from the guy you just made out with. Like she wasn't even trying to hide it. She was just like, I'm gonna do this.
No, that was absolutely wild.
Naya heard about the karma points, and she was like, I'll be damned if I'm getting 5 from as many people as possible.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do when Naya comes at you hot like that? You're not going to say no.
You can't. Yeah, you can't at all.
Yeah. I didn't know that she was like 6'1" either. She's tall.
Yeah, she's legitimately an Amazon.
Yeah, if she says she wants you, you're like, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's her choice, not yours.
Yeah. You think you have a choice in this? No. This is her choice. She's the one doing the choosing.
But this will take us to the daily. Before we, I guess, start with the daily, we see that everyone has to, or each era has to represent 2 people, a guy and a girl, to represent them, which luckily everyone picks up on exactly what this means.
Yeah. I still believe that Tony didn't know.
I don't know if everybody knew what it means because like there's some people like nominating themselves.
Era 1 and 2 knew what it meant.
Yeah. Era 1 and 2, like the more seasoned people definitely were like, nah, there's a reason he's making us pick. I'm not picking in like, era 4. I mean, for sure they were just like, oh, I'll be the friggin' people.
Yeah.
Era 3, I'm with you on this. Tony had not a single clue. Not a clue in hell.
He took it as a compliment, and I think Avery just got stuck with it because she looked around being like, well, if Tori, Naya, and John A are all saying that it's me, I guess it's me.
Yeah, she's saying it's just her because of all them. Tony just sees a bowl of food, and he's like, well, guys, we're winning this.
Yeah.
I get to eat one of these 8 plates, but because of that, we're going to win.
100%.
I mean, they do win, but it's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So,
do win.
Yeah.
Era 1. Era 1. Listen, if you motherfuckers want to pull up that 3-year-old clip now, please enlighten me. Please enlighten me. Y'all had a lot to say about that 3-year-old clip. Maybe you should stay on All Stars.
Darrell still had the line of the episode, though, I think, where he goes, Brad said he knew how to use a rudder. That motherfucker lied.
I had that written down, too.
This is a classic Era 1 move here where you can't tell me that every single person in Era 1 doesn't know that Brad, when it comes to team aspect of shit, has no fucking clue what he's doing. We watched All Stars 4. Brad as an individual can figure shit out.
Absolutely.
Brad in pairs can figure shit out. Brad on a team is a fucking train wreck. But them being the players that they are, we're like, oh, Brad wants to do this? Sure, we'll have somebody to have a reason to yell at if we fucking lose. So that way, if there are nominations, we can nominate him. So that was just like a little bit of like seasoned veteran status from Era 1, just being like, yeah, Brad will be our rudder, knowing damn well he's going to fuck everything up.
Yeah, which they should just force him to be the captain at that point. Just like, oh, you want to steer the ship, steer the team. There you go. Like,
yeah,
if you're insistent that this is the role you want to be, step up to the plate.
Yeah. I mean, everything that I expected to happen to Era 1 on the first daily challenge happened to Era 1 on the first daily challenge. And I would just like an apology from all of the Era 1 people and all the Era 1 sympathizers, saying that I should know my place when it comes to the things that I say about them. Let's stop resting all of Era 1 on CT's shoulders, because CT is the only one that has shown extreme success out of all of them consistently over time. Just because CT wins championships doesn't mean that all of Era 1 wins championships.
It's also funny because Era 1 comes from the days where it was more common to have team challenges, where you think now most of the newer eras do it either individually or pairs, outside of a season here or there, like World of Worlds 2. And so you think, all right, they'd be the most equipped to do a team challenge. And it's just the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
If it was 20 years ago, they would have. It's not even the age part of it. It's with all this time comes more ego. Like your ego gets fed more and more as you get older, and you've done appearances, you've done more, and then so everyone thinks they're right. Everyone thinks they're right in that group. Like because Brad can't do anything right because CT's going to yell at him. CT can't do anything right because Brad's going to yell at him. Like
it's because all Era 1 does is rest on their past resumes.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, all of Era 1, with the exception of CT, is in and maybe Derek K, like with, obviously his most recent season being Dirty 30, which he did pretty well in. Then the pole wrestle with Joss, then winning his pole wrestle against Mark, right? Everybody on Era 1, as far as I'm concerned, is in a what have you done lately?
Right.
Tell me lately. Stop every time we critique you, you pull out your resume. We get it. You've got a resume. You've been here since the beginning. What have you done lately?
Well, and Alex, you brought up egos. And so just speaking of egos, as we talk about Era 3, who dominated it, the back-to-back clips of we see Devin voicing this is how we're going to row and kind of leading him through the challenges, and him just taking credit like I'm leading this team through the challenge. And immediately we get the confessional from Jordan because we see him doing the rudders and being like, this team needs someone to lead them. I will lead us to victory. And just the back from both of them being like, yeah, no, that's on me. But this is why we're dominating.
Oh, it's great. And really both of them are leading that team if it comes to the challenge. Like Jordan, just skill level, is going to help you win a challenge more times than not. Devin, I do agree with what they're saying, is probably one of the better communicators we have seen time and time again in most recent seasons where he has been in, of leading people in the direction to get them to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good team dynamic needs at least 2 to 3 leaders that mesh well together. Mm-hmm. And I think Devin has a certain type of leadership style. Jordan has a certain type of leadership style, but they do not clash with their leadership styles, which obviously they absolutely destroyed this daily.
And they all have good chemistry, which maybe it is because I feels like the entire era has slept with Jordan. So, they're all on the same page, but they knew exactly when to take over. It was Jordan doing a lot of the physical with the boat, Devin being the communications, until it got to the end where there wasn't the shouting over each other. They knew Tori knew all 40 seasons in order, so they let her be the only voice.
According to Nerys, because of Kyland.
Fucking Kylan, dude.
Kylan the encyclopedia just can't help himself. Let everyone know, this is probably going to be a challenge. This is the order. Like, do with it what you will.
I mean, I would act like I'm surprised that somebody on Era 4 just wouldn't keep that information close to his chest for only his team. But I'm not surprised. If only they had somebody there that could direct them in the proper way, to make sure that their team has the advantage and not the other teams.
Don't worry, they're being led by Olivia and Michelle. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong, guys? What could go wrong? I mean, Theo too. I mean, the UK did phenomenal in the dailies on War of the Worlds too. I mean,
like 2 for 12.
Yeah, 2 for 12, but they at least put in a lot of effort.
Well, I mean, he tried to get him that one win by just breaking the lock. So he was trying to get him that third one. It just didn't quite work.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a brute than a brain. So
yeah.
So there's no surprise with how it finishes out. Era 3 dominates the entire way. Then we see Era 2 finish next. Era 4 finish third. And surprise, surprise, Era 1 is last. And this gives us exactly what we thought. Era 4 going straight into elimination. Era 3 deciding which of the other 2 eras is going to go in against them.
Yeah, what could go wrong? You have all the power in the world. Decisions can be made.
Yeah, what can go wrong when Tony is the decision maker and he isn't having it? Like, I feel like for most of Tony's other seasons, he was being guided by like Bananas, taking him under his wing and helping him making decisions and everything. But what could go wrong with Tony making a decision on his own without anybody else guiding his decision-making abilities?
And it's like the issue is people tried. So should we just talk the Tony of it all here and the decision making?
Let's talk the Tony of it all, but I would like to address one conversation that happened with Aviv and Darrell prior to the deliberation of them saying, that, oh my God, let's run it back. Same thing as Fresh Meat 1. Like, we could really do this. Like, I really want to make this work. And then Darrell just fucking obliterates her and throws her under the bus in the deliberation. In classic Darrell fashion, we saw it in the first deliberation where Derek nominates himself and Darrell's like, hey, man, that's all great. Very honorable. I fucking for sure would not do that for you, dude. And literally, just like clockwork, does the same damn thing in deliberation 2 to Aviv.
And then the worst part is, I don't think it even registered in his mind that he was doing that to Aviv. I think he's physically looking and he's just like, do I want to go in a headbanger against Derek or Tony? I want to go against Derek.
Well, at that point, it was Kylan, which you got to think his last, when he was brought in for 39, he lost to Kylan.
That's true. He's like, I got my ass handed to me by that kid. I ain't doing it twice.
Very true. But yeah, let's break down Tony as a whole and his whole thought process here, because I don't think there was much.
Right, because I have thoughts on this. One,
Tony is someone who, in the beginning, he came in, he was sloppy, he was hooking up with people, just getting drunk. And then it seemed like he was turning it around. He turned over a new leaf. He's Tony the family man. Tony who got himself in shape. Tony was taking things more seriously. And I feel like, despite the fact it's been a couple seasons since we've seen him, minus the short stint on All-Stars 4, he was rehabilitating his image. So we were seeing him as a different person. And he somehow managed to destroy all of that in a short 30 minutes.
It's incredible, honestly, because one, I'm like, in a world, Tony and Corey should have been working together this season because they have the same mindset. They're both like, let's succumb to this big, like blob of a group in the Vacation Alliance because that's going to protect me moving forward, and call all other moves scared moves. Because in reality, he kept saying Avery was making a scared move by protecting her friend. If anything, that's a more noble move. It makes more sense to her. She doesn't have the connections with the new kids, and she saw Kylan as a threat. You put them in. She owes them nothing. Tony owes them nothing. Like Banana said it to him. Like, you've known Casey and Kylan for 5 days. Send them in. Like, You don't have any need to put them in just because Era 3 wants to protect Casey. Because even Tori says in the confessional, it's like, look, we're all in different eras right now. I can't actively protect every single era. If you go in, you're going to go in. Like, I think they will have not said anything.
And looking out for herself.
Right.
But this was probably the easiest decision that Tony could have made because 0 blood on his hands.
Yeah.
He could have literally put his hands up, let Avery make the decision, and been like, to the whole house, this was Avery's decision. Fade away. And like, you're not being looked at as a target. People aren't upset at you. You know, Kyland and Casey are part of Era 4. They're not going to hold it against you. Right? Like, I think in his mind, he built up a scenario in his head with, you know, pulling the ace out of his pocket of like, you know, not bluffing, of being ready to go down. I think he had it in his mind that this was going to play out exactly how the Zach and Amanda final reckoning thing played out. And what he didn't factor in his brain, that when Zach and Amanda made that move, it was like 3/4 of the way through the season and the lines had been drawn. And you had 2 people on one team, a decision-making team, fighting for their side of the house. This is week 2.
Yeah, and
like,
not only
neck on the line for Kyland and Casey.
And Zach went home.
Well, here's the thing. He learned the wrong lessons from Zach. Because what Zach did, we can still debate all around the world, like, was it dumb, was it not? Like, it was, in my head, it still was a dumb decision, but I understand his logic of it, of just like, that's the only team that I have. I'm going to put myself in here, and if I win, then I still have my boys here with me, and if not, they at least get to keep going. Because that's Zach's mindset. That's what he says on his podcast all the time. That's all fair and good. He was your boy, Tony. You know Kyland just as much as your ass crack. Like,
yeah,
you don't see it.
It immediately made me think of when we had Jordan on the podcast. Paulie, you and him were going back and forth about how people in this house go, oh, I've known someone for 12 days. But like, they're my best friend. And I feel like you'd see that a lot from like the women. Somehow this was Tony who was, but Kyland could, not even he is my best friend, but he could be my best friend.
Yeah. And I think this is where the conspiracies start coming around of, was Tony just looking for an out? Was he looking for an out? Because why press this hard over 2 people you don't know? And I'm pretty sure didn't talk to until then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just like, it really leaves it up because like, I don't take Avery to be much of a liar, especially if she's angry in her confessional. And I'm like, well, if she's consistently saying, and she's not deviating, it's very consistent that he just wants to go home and I'm being brought in because of that, despite us winning. Like, something has to be there. Everyone being angry with him has to mean something. Like, there needs to be more than just that, oh, I'm going to stand on my ground because I think I'm making the right decision.
It's just really confusing because you go back to episode 1 and 2 and he was fighting to have Jordan thrown in. It seemed like he wanted to be there. And we know this is a matter of 3-4 days later, and it's a complete U-turn that he doesn't want to be there. So I don't know, did he have his family call back home that changed something? Did he get some type of news? It doesn't make sense, but there's some piece that we're missing.
The world will never know. Only Tony will know. But it doesn't look good for him.
No.
2 back-to-back exits, allegedly, because he doesn't want to be there.
And it's a shame for all the people that are Tony fans that were waiting so long to see him come back. They were excited to see him both times. And if this is the trend, not even if I'm in fandom, if I'm production, I'm taking second guesses next time I'm creating a cast list and someone brings up, well, how about Tony? Like, I need more assurances at this point.
And he's now set himself up for that because here's the thing. you talk to a lot of the OGs, and they've all had moments where they've done something like this. They've taken a dive, right? There's definitely ways to be less obvious about it. That isn't going to raise any red flags behind the scenes. And I don't think he's smart enough to know the ways to do that. But to go this hard, this soon, and then even fast forward, you watch the elimination, it was abysmal. And, you had people people were helping Darrell, but people were also helping Tony.
His era was Jordan and Devin.
Exactly. And he wasn't listening, and to lose that bad, at least make it close. He only had 2 blocks down.
You lost to somebody by a landslide who threw out his back.
Yeah. And maybe that's not the one to, be like, shit, I do got to go home, but this is the one. Maybe you try and win that one. And if you lose, you go home. But if you are trying to throw it, make it close so that it kind of removes that doubt.
Right. And the only thing that helps him in that other side of the doubt is just that all of us can truly believe that Tony is that dumb and did not understand the rules of the elimination.
True, but when people are helping you and saying put this one there and put this one there, that's when people tell you what to put down and you put the wrong one down. That's a little telling. And once you know the format of the game, if you really do want to go home, just nominate yourself as the team leader every single daily that you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll find an elimination where you're like, this is the one.
And it doesn't seem like it would have been that hard, because who in that house was riding for Tony? I'm sure there were a few people, but it's a short list.
It doesn't even matter, because you even have Bananas who probably isn't really working with Tony, but he's familiar with Tony. Tony probably wouldn't go after him, so he's trying to help him. And the confessional of Tony going, I can't trust Bananas because he was rooting for Leroy over me. Leroy, the person that is Bananas' number one dude, essentially for life, that isn't
never
Kenny or Evan.
Over.
It's
it made a lot more sense of Tony wanting to be out of there, because we talked about it last week. That was weird that he was so surprised by that. But was that something that he was just going to glob onto, being like, oh no, I can't believe Bananas did it, to try to justify some later decision? I don't know.
I mean, people have the weirdest things to justify their decisions in the challenge house. But, I've always been one to, if things make sense, why get upset about it? Johnny rooting for Leroy, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be a little different if Johnny rooted for Tony over Leroy. That'd be weird. You know what I mean? And even with that, I don't know. People find the weirdest things. For instance, well, I wish I could make a reference with Cara, but she doesn't have too many best friends. That'd be
cousin.
Cousin. That'd be like if I was down there against her cousin, right? Obviously a pretty tough thing for her to cheer for. But if she cheered for her blood over me, I'd be like, kind of sucks, but I get it. You're family. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and Leroy and Bananas are essentially
I hear Cara fucking rooting for Jamie. What a piece of shit rooting for her cousin. I'd be like, damn, that kind of fucking sucks, but I get it. You know what I mean? I'd root for my brother over Cara. You know what I mean? If they were in an elimination, I'd be like, come on, Cody. We're not erasing 33 years that we've spent together. Like it just is what it is. And I want to backtrack a little bit because I found something funny and we glossed over it. The Tori and Josh confrontation.
I was just about to bring us back to it.
Well, yeah, we were going to go back to that because before that even happens, the thing that I love was how many confessionals they were pretty much just saying like, oh yeah, these last 3 or 4 seasons, they've sucked. They haven't had fun like this toga party. And it was just
Did you regret missing this toga party?
I didn't pack a toga.
There you go.
I would have been there. I would have dressed up, but my outfit would have probably been something pieced together like what Cara's was, which is hilarious. I'm glad that she put a dick in there too. Hilarious, classic Cara. Which is freaking great. But the toga party, it's like I get it. We want it to be fun for sure and dressing up. I expected more fights with a toga party because usually that's what you expect with themed party things. I mean, the last time we had a themed party was on Final Reckoning and Melissa and Kayla beat the shit out of each other. And Sylvia was running around with a blue wig on.
Oh yeah. That's what we need. I mean, the other thing out of it is you can tell that CT, he's running out of energy for these CT pro tips because the one for this was, it's okay to have fun in the challenge house. Like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all allowed to have fun in the challenge house. You know what I mean? I like it. I think the toga party is great. I think the best scene from the toga party is Michelle eating ramen, drunk as fuck. Like she was hammered, completely checked out, like just expecting to eat her ramen, have a great night. Fight breaks out right in front of her, and she is just confused as all hell eating ramen.
It was amazing. It was amazing content. So yeah, we're setting the scene. We obviously earlier we talked that Naya and Kylan are fucking in the bedroom, right across from Josh. Josh, to his credit, to the confessional, I'm not gonna say in real life, was like, look, not gonna fuck whoever. We ain't an item. I like her. It sucks. She can do what she wants.
He's a gentleman, but still, like that, as a man,
that burns.
That's
it hurts. It hurts.
And
it's like, okay, this hurts, but I'm gonna just try to sleep it off. This house is loud. There's no secrets that can really go anywhere in this house.
Oh no.
Or Paulie will just tell production to go find them.
Exactly.
So
I'm here for
he overhears.
I want to make good TV here.
Yeah, he overhears all these people, making fun of him. And you know what? I feel like to a certain extent, Josh is like, I get it. It's whatever. But then I feel it's like as soon as he hears Tori adding into it, that he's like, okay, she already just brushed me a certain type of way the last time we were together on USA 2. Now she's talking shit behind my back, but claiming she's like a great friend. I know Dan disagrees with me here. I loved how Josh approached this whole thing where he goes down there. Tori tries to say she wasn't involved. He's like, I heard you. She starts deflecting. She starts crying. He's like, no, we are not friends.
She tried to gaslight the fuck out of him. And she went through every freaking playbook with it. Like lied, caught in a lie, crying isn't working, getting angry isn't working, back to the crying. Josh handled it a certain way, and I'm gonna side with Josh on this because I've been telling him for a long time that he is like he's the laughing stock joke of the Vacation Alliance. They used him because he's got a great social game. He's like the one they clown on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this is a prime example of there's things that you clown on your friends for, and then there's things that are kind of like in bad taste. And that, in my opinion, on Tori's side of things was in bad taste to chime in on and clown him for. And that was almost like her trying to fit in with that group and be a chameleon to this new group of people. None of them in the Vacation Alliance were sitting there. Her trying to be a chameleon to that group of people to then be like, hey, I'm one of you guys. Like, I can laugh at the jokes too. Like, I'm not part of, Josh. I don't care about Josh. And to someone like Josh, like that, that means something, because if the shoe was on the other foot, Josh wouldn't have chimed in on the jokes. He would have been like, come on, guys.
Right.
Like, that's not cool.
Yeah. And Dan, I'll let you go. But the one line, though, that I really liked, because we have said it on the podcast, you have said it, Paulie, as well. It's when he says to Tori, I've been a better friend to you than you have been a friend to me. And that's just facts. And I was like, oh, goddamn, Josh. Like, you actually did not come to play now. You're just like, look, I'm not crying. I'm a little upset. But fuck you.
Listen, this isn't a pro Tory. Tory was right. That isn't the stand of this argument here of going against it. It's more of, I think it's just a bad look. Because granted, yes, he could have been upset at Tory. That was not the root of where his anger came from. We just talked about it. The root of where his anger came from is why he may not be upset with Naya. You are not man, woman, whoever, someone that you're interested in, you thought you were building a connection with, is fucking someone else 20 feet from you that you can physically hear. That is what he was upset about. And that's what he was taking his anger out on. Not necessarily Tory, because if that's really what it was, we would have had this blow up probably off screen or on USA 2. Not this. This was Josh is still holding up all these anger issues he has, maybe towards Tory. He finally gets burst over the edge because of the Kyle and Naya thing, and it all just comes shooting out because we know Josh that when he gets in his feels a little bit, it's all going to come racing out of him.
I agree. It's definitely been building for season after season because, let's really, dive into it, right? Everybody from the Vacation Alliance has gotten a win with the exception of Nani and Anissa, and Josh.
Fessy.
Yeah,
Fessy's at least been in the finals. He's been in the finals.
Yeah. Fessy's made a final. Josh hasn't made a final yet. And, one thing that Josh always says is like, this is my time now, right? Like they're gonna help me out. Like I'm sure this time around they're gonna help me out. The way that I've helped them out and like laid my neck on the line, caused chaos, helped manipulate that situations in their favor. And it's just one of those things. And like if it's a game move, that's one, it's one thing, and he probably would have, continued to be the same Josh as always. But when you insert this type of situation, it's a little bit different because you're essentially attacking his manhood by making fun of him like that. And that's where I think the tipping point came because, to hear a bunch of people clown you, it's like, all right, dude, you guys are a bunch of fucking assholes. Whatever. Ha, ha, ha. You'll have your day. But coming from a friend, that's kind of like, Jesus, man. Like, why would you say that? And why would you do that?
Yeah, no, I get that. I can see why he would be upset because of if he was hearing a lot of people from Era 1, Era 2 who he didn't have a connection with. Sure, it's infuriating, but whatever. We're in a challenge house, it's expected to see. But I can see the side from his of Tori didn't have to say anything, or preferably could have stood up for me, but at the very least didn't chime in to fit in with the group. So from that perspective, I do get it.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see that thread line. Like, does it just get blown over and they're back to being good friends again a couple episodes ago from now? We'll see. But I would love to see a storyline of this big Vacation Alliance fracturing, at least for the season. If that happens.
And I would also like people to take note of just Tori in general. Like, I'll give her credit all day about being a good competitor. She's a great competitor. But this definitely exposes the manipulative, gaslighting side of her. And a little bit of the, mischievous side of her, which, we've all said it for years.
Yeah.
And she's very good at being a chameleon.
Exactly. And it's like Michelle got a lot of shit these past 2 seasons that she was on, for people like were calling her a snake because she was in the middle. She found her way to be able to maneuver within a lot of social dynamics.
Yeah.
The same doesn't like it gets brushed over with Tori because either she's a great competitor or they're like, well, the Vacation Alliance, and then they get distracted by that. She is a chameleon to her core. There's a reason why she's one of the few rookies prior to War of the Worlds 1 and 2 where she comes in and she didn't really need to earn her stripes. She was able to perform a little bit in the dailies. She wasn't getting thrown into elimination a lot.
She had to go into elimination against Marie.
And she had to get out of the net, and Marie couldn't get out of the net or whatever it was. Point being, she didn't have it the way that a lot of people did. And I feel a big part of that is she was able to chameleon figure out, oh, this is the person I should be getting closer to, and that will then get me good with everyone else.
Well, going back to Dirty 30, the best thing that she did was once she survived long enough, was she played the middle between the Cara and Camilla side versus the Jenna and Kayla side. And so they were always looking at the other one. And sure, Camilla yelled at her, but Camilla yelled at everyone there. So that's nothing out of the ordinary.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and I won't forget on War of the Worlds 2 when Cara and I did want to work with Jordan and Tori, and she's in other rooms bashing us saying, oh, other couples aren't like this and blah, 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 blah. And, she has her moments, and that's why Amanda comes at her throat all the time. Because
I love Amanda.
Amanda's not a fake person.
It sounds like she needs to run it back Final Reckoning style, her and Derek Henry again as partners. We'll see how well she can do again.
Yeah, I feel like at this point I should just, become enemies with Amanda so we could be partnered up so that Amanda maybe has a little bit of a fighting chance in these situations.
I would love it. But let's get to the final beat point of this episode, and it's about Avery. Obviously, we go into the season, not just us, fans in general, like, there's one big question mark. I'll be honest, I would be talking to my friends, talking about people on the season. One person would always be forgotten while I was trying to figure out who was on the season, and it was Avery. Nothing against her. She's a great person. She's a great character. When she's able to, have her moments, her real world season, she was awesome in it. Dog
shit tastes in men, but outside of that, she's phenomenal.
Yes, dog shit exactly.
But her fight with Nia was epic.
Yeah. And then Nia just tweeted about it today. It's like 12 years ago, I got my ass beat.
Dude, watching that girl. I was shocked. I rewatched that clip recently, and I was like, as soon as Nia hit her, there was no hesitation with the hook that came from Avery. And I was like, is this the same fucking Avery that I met? Because she was like, little mouse.
Mm-hmm. But this was a good episode for her overall. She takes a leadership role. It pays off. They win. She stands on her ground to protect her friends and her few alliance people that she does have in this house, compared to Tony, who had nobody. Stands on her ground. It's like, look, I can accept if I go down there and lose because this dude doesn't realize strategy at all. He doesn't understand what's going on. He just wants to go home. I'm being screwed over here. Wins anyway. And she sort of gets to talk some shit now. If she wanted to go online right now and talk a bunch of shit to all the people who are like, you guys still missing all these other people that you said should be cast over me? Hey, for the next 24 hours, she has full reign to just talk her shit.
And she should take it.
I agree.
But she won't.
She should. It was a good moment for her. This was kind of, I guess, all right, you had episode 3, so we'll accept you on season 40 for now. But,
but we're still watching you.
But she does get docked a point, though.
Yes. Hers was worse, all right? She got 2 tally marks. Because every time they visit, they go through, I'm doing this for my children. All right, mark it down. She said stepchildren, referring to Adam's kids. But God damn it, was my immediate reaction.
I heard stepchildren. I'm like, how long until Dan messages me saying, what the fuck?
And
the only reason it took 6 was because I was screaming at my TV for 5 of them.
I totally let that one slip, but that I think when I saw that, And when she said it, my initial reaction was like, oh, that's not to say that step parents can't love their stepchildren, but they're not married yet, are they?
No.
At this point, they've been together for less than a year.
Like, is Adam that much of a bum ass man that like his children need her money if she wins? They're not even married yet.
I think this just really says more bad things about Adam. That's what I'm hearing from this.
All I know is Adam liked the tweet that I put out the other week where I was making fun of Anissa wanting to beat Cara's record just for Cara to tie it again. So this 1 week moratorium on me talking shit on Adam, but next week we're sitting and spinning again.
All right.
Team hand job, Steve. Let's go.
There we go.
Hand job, Steve, all day.
All day.
So Avery does get the win over Jody, but then we see this twist, and I actually really like this twist of if you win an elimination, you get to nominate the hit list, who's essentially going to be the team captains for the next challenge. What were y'all's thoughts on that? I'm a fan of this.
I absolutely love that twist. Amazing twist.
It's amazing. It really calls back to like dates of like you win elimination, you get to pick the order everyone competes in the next daily. Like you now eliminations carry weight again. We've been yelling to this guys for like the last 5 seasons that eliminations meant jack shit, and it showed in the episodes. Eliminations now mean something again, and it means something to the players. There's more reason now to strive to get first and not just strive to not get last.
That's what I was going to say, is putting it to the dailies, because that's been the biggest thing for the last few seasons has been just don't come in last.
And the other thing is it removes that aspect of being able to play inter-team politics where, you know, someone could always avoid being the team leader on the daily. So they can't play that anymore. And now it really becomes like a social game with the whole house, because it's like, how do I get people that I want out? Because if they win, they're just going to name me as a target.
Right. And I almost feel like, especially within your own team, you need to be picking people. You either are picking people that you want to go home and you don't care if they go home, or you pick someone like Jordan who you're like, even if you come in last, now everyone is fearing for their lives because everyone's just going to assume, well, Jordan's going down and he's going to win. So, or if you don't come in last, your team's probably not going to go in because the other guy doesn't want to face off against Jordan.
Yeah. It's just a nice twist too. What have we been complaining about? The Vacation Alliance for the past few seasons. And it puts a little wrinkle of that. If you can go in and win an elimination, that gives you power to potentially break up an alliance that's in the house.
Well, so who was nominated as targets? You have Johnny.
In Era 1, I was going to say, Era 2, you had Johnny and Laurel. For Era 1, you had Derek and Anissa. For 3, it was Jordan and Naya. And for 4, it was Horacio and
Jenny.
Jenny.
And also, credit to Avery for also being like, Derek, I'm picking you because you're being a bitch and not looking at me.
That was great.
Like, I was just like, damn. She's still on that adrenaline rush. I was like, I need this all the time. I need this version of Avery.
You need that version of Avery at all times, because that was something.
It was amazing.
And, you know, they picked a majority Vacation Alliance lineup for the targets. So kind of let you know that maybe they're not going to skate as easily as they once did.
We can only hope. And there is the fun wrinkle of the beginning of the episode, Nisa like patting herself on the back and be like, I'm not volunteering. I know what this is. I'm never going to put myself in the leadership role because this team doesn't want me. Just for Darrell to be like,
there's a nice little reverse card on you, bitch.
This is like, Darrell's like, yeah, Nisa, your time to shine, girl.
I don't think there were many people out there that were thinking she was a potential winner for season 40, but because of how many friends she had, I do think there were a lot of people thinking Anissa can make it far. Of anyone that this screws the most in this twist, I think it's Anissa the most, because she's always going to be the easiest person to say.
Yeah, especially any Era 1 guy that gets thrown down there, and wins, they're picking Anissa as the leader every single time until she's gone.
100%. 100%.
But that's going to be so interesting to see. For however long they do this version of it, I think I'm going to be very entertained and loving to see any shots that get called. Please for some spice.
I want to see the fallout of the shots that get called.
Yeah, exactly. We now have something fun to see at the beginning of the next episode of people's reactions to getting picked.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see people who get picked like yelling at the people who picked them.
Right. And like the only person who really can't get upset is Jordan, because Jordan, of course, being himself, is like, yeah, just make me the leader. It's all good.
It's all good. We'll win again. Don't worry.
And even if we lose, hey, I love eliminations.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
I do think that, speaking of it as a whole, Era 3 probably is in the best spot, because Era 4 wants to work with them, and or that's really their only connections because they're newer.
Mm-hmm.
Era 1 is always going to go after someone like 4. I just don't see many times where Era 3 is up. Say they don't win, but they don't come in last, so they're second or third. I don't see many times where their people are being chosen to go down there into elimination.
I think overall, Era 2 and Era 3 are probably more closely aligned than what the episodes are showing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because of exactly what you said. Era 1's looking at Era 4. Era 4 is going to look at Era 1 as well, but try to attach themselves to Era 3. And then Era 2, you still have all these powerful women on the squad and bananas that like you're going to do well.
Well, and Bananas is one of the only people in the house that has connections to every single era.
100%.
Yeah, really, it's just him and CT, like officially in every single era.
And I mean, I'd say Tori has connections, but her connection is Anissa, so that could be a sinking ship. Down to 3. 3 or 4 ain't bad.
Yeah. But I think that covers everything for this episode, guys. It was a good episode. I was entertained.
It was good. I was entertained. It was fun. Eating challenges suck.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode, given it was an eating challenge, very spicy.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm a little sad that they're blowing their load on trivia this early in the season. But we should have some fun with it. As long as we hear TJ's laugh, it's a win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a win. But yeah, that's what we have to look forward to next week. We will be back at the same time at 10 p.m. And because we have Paulie here, Paulie's to the network, we want to have a little bit of fun. So that is going to be Wednesday, September 11th. Paulie and Cara Maria are going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina at an event hosted by Jonny Fairplay. It was originally supposed to be a watch party. The presidential debate moved the VMAs, which fucked that up. But don't worry, we're just going to have a full-blown challenge party instead. We'll be showing some highlights. You'll get to, if you come, get to meet Paulie, Cara, and Jonny Fairplay. We're going to have a great night. We're going to have some karaoke. It's going to be a blast. You can get tickets for that at challengetix.com. That's challengetix.com. That's Wednesday, September 11th, Charlotte, North Carolina at Protagonist Brewing. Please come and see us. It's going to be a great time.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. A lot of karaoke. Get your vocals ready.
But we will be back next week. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the bell, like, and subscribe. That way you get notified every time we go live. We have new podcasts coming to the Reality After Show Network every single, I was going to say week, but at this point, it's every day we have something new popping up. So tons of content for all your favorite shows. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts at, please like, review, give us 5 stars. It helps us out tremendously. Until then, that's Alex, that's Paulie. We will see y'all next week.
See y'all.